Ethan stared at the holographic star map, his fingers tracing the faint lines of light that represented the known galaxy. The room was quiet, save for the hum of the quantum computer in the corner. His latest project, a secret initiative to develop faster-than-light travel, had consumed his life for the past 2 years. But tonight, something felt different. The air was charged, as if the universe itself was holding its breath. He leaned back in his chair, running a hand through his disheveled hair. The weight of his isolation pressed down on him. His colleagues respected him, but they didn't understand him. How could they? He was chasing a dream that most considered impossible. The idea of humanity reaching the stars, not as explorers but as equals among alien civilizations, was a vision only he seemed to fully grasp. A soft chime broke the silence. Ethan frowned. It was late, and no one should have been able to access his lab. The security protocols were among the most advanced on Earth. He stood, his heart pounding as the door slid open. She stepped inside, and for a moment, Ethan forgot how to breathe. Her skin shimmered like liquid starlight, a deep indigo hue that seemed to shift and dance under the lab's artificial light. Her eyes, a piercing silver, locked onto his with an intensity that made his chest tighten. She was tall, her form elegant and otherworldly, draped in a flowing garment that seemed to be made of light itself. "You must be Ethan," she said, her voice a melodic blend of tones that resonated deep within him. "I am Zanara, envoy of the Virillian Empire." Ethan blinked, struggling to process what he was seeing. How did you get in here?" A faint smile played on her lips. "Your security systems are impressive, but not impenetrable. I mean no harm. I come with a request, and a warning." He gestured to a chair, his mind racing. "Please, sit. Can I get you something? Water? Coffee?" She tilted her head, her silver eyes studying him. "Your hospitality is appreciated, but unnecessary. I require only your attention." Ethan sat across from her, his curiosity outweighing his apprehension. "What's this about?" Zanara's expression grew serious. "My people are on the brink of war. A faction within our empire seeks to destroy Earth, believing humanity to be a threat. I have come to seek your help in preventing this." Ethan's heart skipped a beat. "Why me? I'm just a scientist. I don't have any influence with governments or militaries." "You underestimate yourself," she said, her gaze unwavering. "Your work on faster-than-light travel has caught the attention of both my people and our enemies. You possess the knowledge and creativity that could tip the balance in our favor." He leaned forward, his mind racing. "What exactly are you asking me to do?" "Join me," she said simply. "Help me uncover the truth behind this conspiracy. Together, we can prevent a war that would devastate both our worlds." Ethan stared at her, torn between disbelief and a strange, inexplicable pull. There was something about her, something that made him want to trust her, despite the insanity of the situation. "This is a lot to take in," he admitted. "How do I know you're telling the truth?" Zanara reached out, her hand hovering just above his. A faint glow emanated from her fingertips, and suddenly, images flooded his mind. He saw starships clashing in the void, planets burning, and a darkness that threatened to consume everything. But amidst the chaos, he also saw hope, a light that grew stronger the closer he and Zanara stood together. The vision faded, leaving Ethan breathless. "What was that?" "A glimpse of what could be," she said softly. "The future is not set in stone. Our choices will determine the outcome." Ethan looked into her eyes, and for the first time in years, he felt a sense of purpose. "Okay," he said. "I'll help you. But you have to promise me one thing." "Anything," she replied. "Don't lie to me. No secrets. If we're going to do this, we do it together." Zanara nodded, her expression solemn. "You have my word." As they began to discuss their plan, Ethan couldn't shake the feeling that his life was about to change forever. The stars had always called to him, but now, they seemed closer than ever. And standing beside Zanara, he felt a connection that went beyond words, a bond that defied logic and reason. Little did he know, this was only the beginning. The days turned into weeks, and Ethan found himself spending nearly every waking moment with Zanara. Their collaboration was intense, their minds working in perfect harmony as they pieced together the fragments of the conspiracy threatening both their worlds. But it wasn't just their work that drew them closer. There was something deeper, something neither of them could ignore. Zanara's presence was intoxicating. Her movements were graceful, her voice soothing, and her laughter, rare as it was, felt like music to Ethan's ears. She was unlike anyone he had ever met, and yet, there was a familiarity between them that defied explanation. It was as if they had known each other for lifetimes, their souls resonating on a frequency only they could hear. One evening, as the sun dipped below the horizon, painting the sky in hues of orange and purple, Ethan and Zanara found themselves on the rooftop of his lab. The city sprawled out before them, its lights twinkling like stars. The air was cool, carrying with it the faint scent of blooming flowers. "It's beautiful," Zanara said, her silver eyes reflecting the fading light. "Your world has a certain vibrancy that mine lacks." Ethan glanced at her, a small smile playing on his lips. "I've always loved this view. It reminds me that no matter how big the universe is, there's still beauty to be found right here." She turned to him, her expression thoughtful. "You humans have a unique way of finding meaning in the smallest things. It's one of the things I admire most about your species." Ethan felt a warmth spread through his chest at her words. "And what about you? What do you admire most about yourself?" Zanara's lips curved into a faint smile. "That's a difficult question. My people are taught to value logic and reason above all else. Emotions are seen as distractions. But you're not like that," Ethan said softly. "I can see it in the way you talk, the way you care about stopping this war. You feel things deeply, don't you?" She hesitated, her gaze dropping to the ground. "It's complicated. My abilities make me different from others of my kind. I can sense emotions, not just in myself, but in others as well. It's both a gift and a curse." Ethan took a step closer, his voice gentle. "Why a curse?" "Because it makes it harder to remain detached," she admitted. "When I'm around you, for example, I can feel your emotions as clearly as if they were my own. Your determination, your kindness, your curiosity about me." Ethan's breath caught in his throat. "And what do you feel now?" Zanara looked up, her silver eyes meeting his. "I feel drawn to you. In a way I've never experienced before. It's as if our souls are connected, tethered by something I can't explain." The air between them grew heavy with unspoken words. Ethan reached out, his fingers brushing against hers. A spark of energy passed between them, sending a shiver down his spine. "Zanara, I." Before he could finish, she closed the distance between them, her lips meeting his in a kiss that felt like the collision of two stars. It was electric, filled with a passion that neither of them had anticipated. For a moment, the world faded away, leaving only the two of them, bound together by a force stronger than gravity. When they finally pulled apart, Ethan's heart was racing. "That was inevitable," Zanara finished, her voice barely above a whisper. "But we must be careful. If anyone were to discover our connection, it could jeopardize everything we're working for." Ethan nodded, though the thought of hiding their bond pained him. "I understand. But that doesn't mean I have to like it." Zanara's expression softened. "Neither do I, but for now, we must focus on the mission. The fate of our worlds depends on it." As they stood there, hand in hand, Ethan couldn't help but feel a sense of hope. Despite the challenges ahead, he knew that together, they could overcome anything. Their bond was forbidden, but it was also their greatest strength. Little did they know, their connection would soon be put to the ultimate test. The betrayal. The days grew darker as the conspiracy they were unraveling began to reveal its true scale. Ethan and Zanara worked tirelessly, their bond deepening with each passing moment. But as they delved deeper into the mystery, they began to notice subtle signs that someone was watching them. A shadow here, a flicker of movement there, always just out of reach. One night, as they pored over a series of encrypted files, Ethan's computer suddenly shut down. The screen went black, and the room was plunged into silence. "What just happened?" Ethan asked, his voice tense. Zanara's eyes narrowed as she scanned the room. "We've been compromised. Someone has accessed your system." Before Ethan could respond, the door to the lab burst open. A group of armed men stormed in, their weapons trained on the two of them. Ethan's heart raced as he recognized the insignia on their uniforms. They were from Earth's Security Division. "Step away from the alien," the leader barked, his voice cold and commanding. Ethan instinctively moved in front of Zanara, shielding her with his body. "What's the meaning of this?" "We're working on a classified project." "Not anymore," the man said, his eyes narrowing. "We have orders to detain the Virillian envoy for questioning." "Step aside, Dr. Ethan." Zanara placed a hand on Ethan's shoulder, her touch calming despite the situation. "It's okay," she said softly. "I'll go with them." "No," Ethan said firmly, his voice filled with determination. "I'm not letting them take you." The leader stepped forward, his weapon raised. "This is your last warning. Step aside, or we'll use force." Ethan's mind raced. He knew they were outnumbered and outgunned, but he couldn't let them take Zanara. Not after everything they'd been through. He glanced at her, and in her eyes, he saw a flicker of something, a plan. "Trust me," she whispered, her voice barely audible. Before Ethan could respond, Zanara raised her hand, and a wave of energy surged through the room. The lights flickered, and the armed men staggered back, disoriented. Ethan felt a strange warmth spread through his body, as if Zanara's energy was protecting him. "Run!" Zanara shouted, grabbing Ethan's hand. They bolted for the emergency exit, their footsteps echoing in the empty hallway. Behind them, they could hear the shouts of the security team as they regained their footing. "Where are we going?" Ethan asked, his breath coming in short gasps. "Somewhere safe," Zanara replied, her voice steady despite the chaos. They emerged onto the rooftop, the cool night air hitting them like a wave. Zanara led Ethan to the edge, where a small, sleek spacecraft was waiting. It was unlike anything Ethan had ever seen, its surface shimmering with the same starlight hue as Zanara's skin. "Get in," she said, her tone leaving no room for argument. Ethan hesitated for only a moment before climbing into the craft. Zanara followed, her fingers flying over the controls. The engines hummed to life, and the ship lifted off just as the security team burst onto the rooftop. "Hold on," Zanara warned, her voice tight with concentration. The ship shot forward, weaving through the city's skyline with incredible speed. Ethan gripped the sides of his seat, his heart pounding as they narrowly avoided collisions with buildings and other aircraft. "Where did you get this?" Ethan asked, his voice barely audible over the roar of the engines. "It's a Virillian escape pod," Zanara replied, her eyes focused on the path ahead. "I had it hidden in case of emergencies." Ethan glanced at her, a mix of awe and fear in his eyes. "You've been planning for this?" "I knew the risks," she said simply. "But I didn't expect the betrayal to come from your own people." Ethan's stomach churned at the thought. Who could have done this? Who would want to stop us? Zanara's expression darkened. "Someone who stands to gain from the war. Someone who doesn't want us to uncover the truth." The ship broke through the atmosphere, leaving Earth behind. The stars stretched out before them, infinite and uncharted. Ethan felt a pang of sadness as he looked back at his home planet, now just a small blue dot in the distance. "What now?" he asked, his voice filled with uncertainty. "Now," Zanara said, her tone resolute, "we find the source of the conspiracy. And we end it." Ethan nodded, his determination reignited. Together. As the ship hurtled through the void, Ethan couldn't shake the feeling that they were being watched. The betrayal had shaken him to his core, but it had also strengthened his resolve. He would do whatever it took to protect Zanara and uncover the truth. Little did they know, the conspiracy ran deeper than they could have imagined. And the shadows that followed them were closer than they thought. The Starlit Revelation. The escape pod hurtled through the vast expanse of space, its engines humming with a quiet urgency. Ethan sat in the co-pilot's seat, his eyes fixed on the star-streaked view outside the cockpit. The weight of their situation pressed heavily on his chest, but Zanara's calm presence beside him kept him grounded. "Where are we headed?" Ethan asked, breaking the silence. "To a hidden sanctuary," Zanara replied, her fingers dancing over the navigation console. "A place where we can regroup and gather more information. It's a safe haven for those who oppose the war." Ethan nodded, though his mind was still reeling from the betrayal. "Do you think the conspiracy reaches beyond Earth? Could there be Virillians involved too?" Zanara's expression darkened. "It's possible. The faction seeking war has allies in high places. But we won't know for sure until we reach the sanctuary." The journey was long, and the silence between them was filled with unspoken thoughts. Ethan couldn't help but replay the events of the past few weeks in his mind. The connection he felt with Zanara was unlike anything he had ever experienced, but it was also a source of vulnerability. Their bond had made them a target, and now they were fugitives, hunted by forces they didn't fully understand. Finally, the ship's sensors picked up a faint signal. Zanara adjusted their course, and soon a massive structure came into view. It was a space station, its design a blend of human and Virillian technology. The station's surface shimmered with a faint, ethereal glow, as if it were alive. "Welcome to the Starlit Sanctuary," Zanara said, her voice tinged with relief. As they docked, Ethan felt a strange sense of awe. The station was unlike anything he had ever seen. Its corridors were lined with intricate carvings that seemed to tell stories of ancient civilizations, and the air was filled with a soft, melodic hum. They were greeted by a small group of individuals, humans and aliens alike. Their expressions were a mix of curiosity and caution as they approached. Zanara, one of them, a tall human with silver hair, said, "We weren't expecting you." "Circumstances forced our hand," Zanara replied. "This is Ethan. He's been helping me uncover the conspiracy." The man nodded, his gaze shifting to Ethan. "Welcome. I'm Dr. Alara, one of the sanctuary's leaders. We've been monitoring the situation on Earth. It seems things have escalated." "You could say that," Ethan said dryly. "We were attacked by Earth's security forces. Someone betrayed us." Alara's expression grew serious. "We'll discuss this further in the briefing room. Come with me." As they followed Alara through the station, Ethan couldn't help but feel a sense of hope. The sanctuary was a place of refuge, a beacon of light in the darkness. But he also knew that their fight was far from over. In the briefing room, they were joined by several others, scientists, diplomats, and warriors from various species. The atmosphere was tense as Zanara recounted their journey and the events that had led them here. "We believe the conspiracy is tied to an ancient artifact," Zanara explained. "A device capable of controlling stars. If it falls into the wrong hands, it could be used to destroy entire systems." The room fell silent as her words sank in. Ethan felt a chill run down his spine. The stakes were higher than he had imagined. "Do we know where the artifact is?" one of the Virillians asked. "Not yet," Zanara admitted. "But we have leads. And with the sanctuary's resources, we can find it before they do." Alara nodded. We'll do everything in our power to assist you. But we must act quickly. Time is not on our side. As the meeting continued, Ethan found himself drawn to a holographic map displayed on the wall. It showed the known galaxy, with several systems highlighted in red. One of them caught his eye, a remote star system on the edge of Irillian space. "What's this?" he asked, pointing to the system. Zenara joined him, her eyes narrowing as she studied the map. "That's the Nexus system. It's said to be the birthplace of the artifact. But it's also heavily guarded." Ethan's mind raced. If we can get there, we might be able to find clues about its location. Or even the artifact itself. Zenara hesitated. "It's dangerous. The Nexus system is a war zone. But, it might be our only chance." The room fell silent as the weight of their decision settled over them. Finally, Elara spoke. "We'll prepare a team. But you must understand the risks." Ethan nodded, his determination unwavering. "We don't have a choice. If we don't stop them, countless lives will be lost." Zenara placed a hand on his shoulder, her touch grounding him. "Then we go together." As the team began preparations, Ethan and Zenara found a quiet moment alone. The station's observation deck offered a breathtaking view of the stars, their light reflecting in Zenara's silver eyes. "Are you scared?" Ethan asked, his voice soft. "Yes," Zenara admitted. "But not for myself. For you. For what we might lose." Ethan reached for her hand, their fingers intertwining. "We've come this far. We'll see it through. Together." Zenara's lips curved into a faint smile. "Your resilience never ceases to amaze me. It's one of the things I love about you." Ethan's heart skipped a beat at her words. "I love you too, Zenara. No matter what happens, that won't change." They stood there, bathed in the light of 1,000 stars, their bond stronger than ever. But as they prepared to embark on their most dangerous mission yet, they couldn't shake the feeling that the shadows were closing in. The eternal bond. The journey to the Nexus system was fraught with tension. The team, consisting of Ethan, Zenara, and a handful of skilled individuals from the sanctuary, moved cautiously through the war-torn region. The remnants of battles littered the space around them, charred debris, lifeless ships, and the faint echoes of lives lost. The Nexus system loomed ahead, its central star burning with an eerie, unstable light. "This place feels wrong," Ethan muttered as their ship approached the system's outer rim. "Like it's alive and angry." Zenara nodded, her silver eyes scanning the sensors. "The artifact's presence has destabilized the entire system. We need to be careful. One wrong move, and we could trigger a catastrophic reaction." The team's pilot, a human named Jace, guided the ship through a narrow asteroid field. "We're approaching the coordinates Zenara provided. But there's a lot of interference. Sensors are going haywire." "That's the artifact's influence," Zenara explained. "It warps reality around it. We'll have to rely on visual navigation from here." Ethan leaned forward, his eyes fixed on the viewport. "There. Do you see that?" In the distance, a massive structure floated amidst the chaos. It was unlike anything Ethan had ever seen, a colossal, crystalline spire that seemed to pulse with energy. Its surface shimmered with the same starlight hue as Zenara's skin, but there was something darker, more ominous about it. "That's it," Zenara said, her voice barely above a whisper. "The artifact." As they drew closer, the ship's systems began to falter. Lights flickered, and the engine sputtered. "We're losing power," Jace shouted, his hands gripping the controls. "We need to land, now." Zenara's fingers flew over the console. "There's a landing platform on the lower level. Aim for that." The ship lurched as Jace guided it toward the platform. The landing was rough, but they made it in one piece. As the team disembarked, they were met with an oppressive silence. The air was thick with energy, and the ground beneath their feet seemed to hum with power. "This place is alive," Ethan said, his voice trembling. "I can feel it." Zenara placed a hand on his arm. "Stay close. The artifact's influence is strongest here. It will try to manipulate your thoughts, your emotions." The team moved cautiously through the structure, their footsteps echoing in the vast, empty halls. The walls were covered in intricate carvings that seemed to shift and change as they passed. Ethan couldn't shake the feeling that they were being watched. Finally, they reached the central chamber. The artifact floated in the center of the room, its crystalline surface glowing with an otherworldly light. It was beautiful and terrifying all at once. "This is it," Zenara said, her voice filled with awe. "The source of the conspiracy. The key to ending the war." But before they could approach, a voice echoed through the chamber. "I was wondering when you'd show up." The team turned to see a figure step out of the shadows. It was a Virillian, his skin a deep, menacing black, his eyes glowing with a cold, calculating light. Ethan recognized him immediately. It was Kale, a high-ranking official in the Virillian Empire and one of the architects of the war. "Kale," Zenara said, her voice filled with venom. "I should have known you'd be behind this." Kale smirked, his gaze shifting to Ethan. "And you brought a human. How quaint. But you're too late, Zenara. The artifact is mine. With it, I will reshape the galaxy in my image." Ethan stepped forward, his fists clenched. "You're insane. This thing will destroy everything." Kale laughed, a cold, hollow sound. "Destruction is merely the first step. From the ashes, a new order will rise. One where the strong rule and the weak are eradicated." Zenara's eyes narrowed. "We won't let you do this." Kale's smirk widened. "You don't have a choice." With a wave of his hand, the artifact began to glow brighter, its energy surging through the chamber. The ground shook, and the walls seemed to close in around them. Ethan felt a wave of dizziness as the artifact's power washed over him. "We need to stop him," Ethan shouted, his voice barely audible over the chaos. Zenara nodded, her expression resolute. "There's only one way. We have to activate the artifact's failsafe. But it requires a starlit resonance, a bond strong enough to override its power." Ethan's heart raced. "You mean, us?" Zenara took his hand, her touch grounding him. "Our bond is the only thing strong enough. But it's dangerous. If we fail, it could destroy us." Ethan looked into her eyes, his determination unwavering. "I'm not afraid. Not if it means stopping him." Zenara's lips curved into a faint smile. "Then let's do this. Together." They stepped forward, their hands still clasped. The artifact's energy surged around them, but they focused on each other, their bond growing stronger with each passing moment. The world faded away, leaving only the two of them, their souls intertwined. As their resonance reached its peak, the artifact began to tremble. Kale's smirk faltered as he realized what was happening. "No. You can't do this." But it was too late. The artifact's light grew brighter and brighter until it consumed everything. Ethan felt a wave of warmth spread through his body, and for a moment, he was weightless, floating in a sea of light. When the light faded, the artifact was gone, and Kale lay unconscious on the ground. The chamber was silent, the oppressive energy replaced with a sense of peace. "We did it," Ethan said, his voice filled with awe. Zenara nodded, her silver eyes shining with pride. "We did. But this is only the beginning. The war may be over, but there's still so much to do." Ethan took her hand, his heart swelling with love and hope. "Then we'll do it together. Always." As they stood there, bathed in the light of 1,000 stars, Ethan knew that their bond was eternal. No matter what challenges lay ahead, they would face them together, their love a beacon of hope in a galaxy filled with darkness. The end.